My hat! So I'm starting here with bag A. Bag A is the center differential. So I'm just going to take everything out. There's a few little bags in here. And I'm just going to open everything and spread the parts. One of the things that I like about the MT, this one here, for Tekno, is the center differentials. The cross, these are metal. Which is great. This is what holds your conical gears for the differential. And on my SCT 410.2, it did not come with metal ones, it came with plastic ones. Now, I never broke any of the plastic ones, so as far as I'm concerned, they're good enough for that vehicle. But keep in mind that if you're running 2S, 3S, it probably doesn't matter. On one of my trucks, I'm running 4S, so I decided to just replace them. I figured I'd do preventative upgrades or preventative maintenance instead of risking one of those crosses breaking. But here we go. Let's see, spur looks very similar. But we will get started. Something very important is the O-rings. You always want to lubricate the O-rings as well as these grooves. So there's these grooves in here. Actually, you can probably see them better there. Yep, there you go. You want to lubricate them. That is something that's very important that you need to do. So that being said, we will just get the black grease. That is provided. If you have black grease just lying about, you can just go ahead and use that. Any grease works. But here I'm going to use the one that's provided, so I'm using everything in the kit for the build. Alright, and that is fine. I'm just going to place it there. I'll grab the other O-ring. Great. And now, I'm just going to take the excess off my fingers. Actually, I'm just going to grease up the entire thing. There we go. Just a little more. All right, good. So now we can start with the build. Now you can go step by step here. Built a few of these, so just going to look at the pictures. But you can also just look at this general image and go off that when you're building it. Shop towels I generally use just for my fingers, but these are pretty good if you buy those. Use terry cloths, except for I really like the lint they leave, so shop towels are pretty good. But here we go. So that being said, if you look at these, both of these happen to be the same, so it doesn't matter which is which. So at this point, I'm just going to grab a bearing. So the bearing will actually go in this housing. So it's just going to snap on. And this piece here will just go in there. You're going to deal with it later in here. And by later, I mean right now if I can get one of these O-rings out of there. And I'm going to drop one of these O-rings. And this diameter is so large that I can actually manage to slide my thumb through. Now, I'm actually going to grab my 7mm driver to just push the O-ring in. So make sure you use a 7mm driver. That just pushes the O-ring. So that's where the O-ring goes. It goes at the bottom. And then after that, you have this washer. Now, I do like to apply a little bit of black grease here. And that's just because this will be contacting the O-ring. You do not have to do this. This is just something I prefer to do. In my mind, it helps preserve the O-ring. Now, you can try to drop it in if you have pliers. I'm just going to hold it this way and feel for it. Here we go. And then flip it. And it's there. Take my driver. That is sat. Once it is sat in there, and then you can continue with the next steps. So the next step is to grab one of these pins. And this pin, you will notice that, let me use this one. There is a hole in there So you're going to have to drop the pin and then slide it in. You can do that a variety of ways. You can try to just line this up. So if you find the hole, which is here, this is the easiest way. So the hole's going to match this groove. So if you know this groove is there, right, that's where the hole is. So you can just line this with that and then kind of drop it in, and you can fail miserably. Use a driver or just use some pliers, which is really the easiest way to go. And pliers, it doesn't matter which ones, I'm just going to use these. These Kobalt, I'm not particular to the brand, but they were inexpensive and they're very good for the price. If you already have some others, go for it. Needle nose work, I like these for differentials. They're very good. Try to have the pin fit evenly. Then once you have that, grab one of these large gears and it's going to go into one of those. So just drop it in. Once you drop it in, you can just spin and it'll just drop right in. And that is that part. So we actually finished up this section. Now we can deal with our conical gears. So the cross, I had already assembled it, but these look very similar to Lincoln logs. And if you don't know what Lincoln logs are, you missed out when a child. Lincoln logs were probably the best thing ever. Well, one of the best things ever. There were a few amazing things. Lincoln logs, those were some of them. But here we go. Right, so, well, I guess didn't have to do that. Just going to go ahead and set this in here. And this is just facing up. So when I drop this, this will be facing down. And then after that, just going to have to oil everything. Now, one little thing, notice this little groove here. So this is keyed for when it drops in here. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. And there we go. Just keys in there, and that's all we need. So we are finished with that step right there. And at this point, I am not going to do this one yet. I'm actually going to skip and look at this side over here. And the reason why is it's easier to just apply the bearings and do everything than put the oil. Or you could put the oil now. Now there is an advantage to putting the oil now, and I just looked at the number. This is 100 mil. The SET410 does not use such thick oil, so I just realized why you want to do that first. This oil is so thick, you want it to just sit. This is really thick. A really quick note, if you do a different build, let's just say you do the short course instead, the oil that comes with it is pretty light. I believe it might be 15,000. I'm not sure. I would have to check the manual. The point is, for 2S, it's fine. If you're planning on running 4, 5, 6S, like on this MT410, you really want thicker center differential oil. If not, you will be cooking the oil. And for those of you that are looking at something like this for the first time, cooking the oil, that's when you overheat the oil. So what will end up happening is the center differential oil is too thin. So as you accelerate, the front wheels start coming off the ground, so there's less force on them. So they start unloading, which means they start spinning really fast, much faster than the rear because of that light differential. So that action, making these gears spin so fast, will overheat the oil and you will cook it. This oil is so thick, you need to be careful because these little caps here will sometimes just pop right out, which is what will probably happen. I should have removed it, but you can't really tell. This is such thick oil here. Let me, if I place it here, no, you can't really see. Maybe. Yeah, there. Saw a little bit of it there. And this part's going to take a while. Yeah, this uses very thick oil. Even in the front and rear, the oil is going to be a 50,000, which, like I said, the short course does not use such thick oils. But the MT is probably meant to simply run higher power. They probably assumed people would be using a 4S system minimum, at which point it makes sense. Oh boy. Yeah, this is, there we go. If I squeeze it hard enough, this will probably pop out, which would probably make this easier. So again, just be careful when you do this because that little cap, see it's popping out right now. Don't want to just let it pop out. Maybe I do, maybe not. No, I'll make a mess. I'll keep it there. Nope, never mind. There it goes. All right. Just gonna put a bit of oil there, and then I'm gonna let it sit. And the reason why is you do not want to overfill the differential. These differentials should be filled a millimeter below the top line. By top line, I mean the surface, the face of the surface. Here we go. All right, so I'll do that. I can keep it like this, but I'll leave it at an angle. It's very thick oil. That will be there a while. So I'm actually going to have to come back to this one. So I'll open up one of the other differentials just because this oil is so thick. It's going to take a while for it to actually set and allow me to view the level. So we're going to put the gasket in here. Gasket, just make sure that you line up the holes. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and assemble this. So that is already greased. Remember, you're supposed to put grease here. I'll put this here. And this will give you a better view. So with the 7mm, all I'm doing is that with the O-rings. Oh, guess I was off camera right here. That is all. See? And then the O-ring is set. The holes match. Once you do this, you just put this pin through the hole. Sits there. Gear goes in here. And the reason why you fill this a millimeter below that line is to give enough space for this gear. Because if you fill it all the way to the top and you put this on there, it's going to push some of the oil out here. And then when you go to sit this, there will not be a good contact between this gasket and that surface area. That is the reason why. So we shall be leaving these here. I'll put the screws there for now. And I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next differential. Oh, actually, I forgot something. Thanks for catching me. Some of you are probably wondering, wait, what about the other washer? How many of you noticed? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. There we go, a little bit of grease. And here we go. There, so after you apply some grease, then you can apply everything else. Hopefully your chills aren't multiplying. But let's go on to the next page. All right, so bag B, and everything's labeled in order, right? A's before B, etc. So here we're going to have the front and rear differentials. Therefore, you build one, you're going to build the other. Now, usually you want to mark the front from the rear. In this case, because we're using the same oil, you do not have to, so it will not matter. Another side note, when you're cutting this bag, be careful not to, one, cut your fingers, but two, don't cut the O-rings that are there accidentally. So that is something that you have to watch for. All right, we have this. We have these here. These appear to be more robust than the short course version. They are quite heavy for their size. Here we go. All right. And the differentials, we have all the parts here. And usually just spread everything out. There's O-ring stuck in there. Here we go. Now this is a basher, so we're building a basher, but just to note, some people, whenever they're doing a race build, they're building an RC for racing, they'll take the bearings and actually remove those rubber seals, these little rubber seals carefully on both sides, and then they will remove the grease using alcohol, for example. And then once they do that, they'll just use machining oil to oil the bearings instead of grease. That's just so they run a little smoother. And I pre-opened that. Here we go. All right. So here we go. We're going to get started. So we're going to grab one of these and we're going to go through the same process. And the easiest thing is to go ahead and just apply the bearings. So if you just place the bearings into every single one of these, here's the gear, here's the other housing, and here's the other one, especially when you're building something like this, just to save time. You have all the bearings, right? We did this step and we did this step right over here. Now I'm going to go ahead and just grease all of these. And if I just apply grease to one, just run this like this with my finger, and I'll have some excess grease. Run this grease over here. And here we go. And we have enough grease for the other one. There we go. And just going to apply some grease to my finger, and the reason why is so I can just play with the O-rings. Here we go. All right, there's one, two, I'll put this on the bag. And there's 3, 4, and then I'll deal with the washers later. All right. And here we go. So again, grab one of these, go through there, grab an O-ring. See, I should have done it the other way. Just set it on your finger and just hold it. Just feel for it. Once it's there, grab your 7mm driver, push it in, and we're just going to do it to every single one. And if you happen to be watching this video while you're building it, this I think is the best way to just build everything, to build it quickly, to just set these parts in instead of just doing one and then the other. Just take care of everything that is similar. Here I'm going to go ahead and place this. All right. There we go. All right. And I can go ahead and grab the washers. There are 4 of these. And I'm only going to be applying grease to the surface that will come in contact with the O-ring, and it's not really much that you need. Do not go overboard. It's just a little bit of lubrication so it doesn't tear the rubber. All right. Maybe a little more. That is fine. There we go. And your pins, they ride on these. That's why you need these, so that it doesn't ride on the O-ring. Just saves it. That's the reason why. At this point, I'll go ahead and grab this. And again, remember, just align it to that. So this will go in here. And once you have it in there, you can just drop it in. Oh, no. This one is not cooperating. There we go. All right, so I do that. I can grab one of these, drop that gear in, and that is all. Let's see. All right, here we go. Here's the other pin. We'll grab this one, and then our other two are right here. Let's see. Here we go. We'll line this up. Perfect. And we're going to do the same thing to these other sides. While I'm doing that, just kind of peeked over at that other differential, and this one is ready for more oil. Let me go ahead and just apply more. Definitely gonna need more. Man, this is really thick. Now I have dealt with this oil, but not in a long time. It's not an oil that I use often. But if you ever race a Euro truck, for example, a man truck by Tamiya, that's what most people recommend you use on the front differential, and it works. I've tried it, it does work. It helps the vehicle carry more speed in turns. But here we go. All right, so we have that. And all right, now I can use the conical gears. Should have 4 for each. And again, you're gonna have the same type of cross, right? Just like the Lincoln logs. If you can keep them together, you can go ahead and just put all the gears. I do not know why I keep insisting of doing it this way. Just do half and then do the other half and drop it in. Being stubborn, I guess. Wouldn't be the first time. There we go. Once you drop it in, then you can just kind of move them with your finger and they will drop in and mesh in. So there is one. Here goes the other. So again, what I mean by just do one and drop it in, do this, and then make sure that is facing up. So the cutout, you can see the cutout there. And that's because this one's going to sit in there. All right, here we go. Oops, don't drop them. Center differential looks, yeah, it looks about 1 millimeter actually, a little more. Go ahead and just add a little more oil. Yeah, center differential will definitely be the most annoying, just because of the type of oil. Well, I should say the weight. Come on, just a little more. So just this way, not too much. There, that should be enough. All right. And it's not a big deal. I just don't like the way silicone oil feels. So that's really why I find it annoying. I don't like the feeling. All right. That should be enough. Here we go. Now we're looking at 50,000 for diff oil. Oh, actually it's asking for 100 for the front and 50 for the rear. Right, so one of these is going to go rear. Do not mix them up. It will make a difference. It'll make a huge difference. This is pretty thick, but not as thick as the other one, so hopefully I can just go ahead and fill it like this. And I'm going to put the rear on the left side and the front on the right side. If you generally struggle with keeping things separate or keeping track of items, just mark one. Use a Sharpie or a pencil and just make a mark on one, or you can mark both. That is completely up to you. But even 50, I don't know if the camera's showing, but I mean, this is thicker than honey, almost. Here we go. Almost. Even the air bubble, I'm not sure if you can see it, but it takes forever to rise. It doesn't take forever, it just takes a few seconds. All right, come on, you know what I mean. Here we go. And again, do not squeeze too hard or else that little cap is going to fly off, as you saw with the other one. Well, it won't fly off, it'll just come off and then you can make a mess. You'll get a bunch of oil on your hands. If you don't mind the feeling of silicone oil, then go for it. Again, I don't like it. All right, once that sets, that should be good. Place this here. Let me go ahead and cap this. And the front will now get 100,000 oil. So imagine what 1 million feel. Actually, 1 million is almost like putty. Well, maybe not. No, yeah, it's close. 20 millions about putty. Let's get that cap out. The easiest way. Almost seems this would have been easier had this been a tube instead of a little bottle. All right, let's try that for now. Last time we dropped one of the differentials, it was the 50. So really let me just clean that, put a little more oil, and the center one is ready. So if I put oil here, I will completely assemble that one. And there it is. That should be enough oil. Alright, so go ahead and put the cap on this one. We can go ahead and, well, maybe not on that one. But let's look at the center one. Center one looks good. I'm just going to go ahead and wipe the excess off there. And I'm going to go ahead and take this, and all you do is just flip it on there. And this oil is so thick, I mean, that's how thick the oil is. All right, here we go. So just going to sort of line up the holes. All right, it's good. All right, a little bit of oil there, not a big deal. And you're going into plastic, so don't worry about the oil in the plastic. Your screws are not going to back out. So I'm going to start this one. I'm not going to tighten it fully. I'm going to grab the other one. And really quick, the differential build is pretty much the same for almost all Teknos. I'm going to say almost all of them. It is for the AB410, EB48, same process, just the parts are different sizes. That's pretty much it, but the design is very similar. So once you build one, you're going to be very familiar with how to build the rest of them. One of the nice things too about building your own kit versus buying something that's already built is I have purchased kits in the past that are pre-built and then screws start falling out. So the pre-built kits, you almost have to go through and just disassemble them and then reassemble them to a point. But these, step by step, you're making sure every screw fits, you know, the differential is oiled properly, everything. So here is the center, and there's no way to mistake the center with the front to rear. There's just a really big difference in size. But here we go. This is the other reason why also you don't want to be using Allen wrenches and you really want to be using something like this. And the reason behind it is you're going to get tired. This will be tiring. All right. Here goes the next. And if it's your very first build ever, it may seem like it takes an eternity to build it. It is worth it. It doesn't take that long. It just may feel like it, but it doesn't take that long. So I do recommend that you build your own kit. All right, just need this one. I mean, the Tamiya doesn't take very long, so if you bought a Euro truck, it only takes a few hours. Something like this is just a lot more assembly, a lot more parts. Then again, there's also a major difference in quality between the two, and you should be able to tell based on the price. Right? You're looking at $150 with body electronics versus something like this, no body, no electronics. That is smooth, that is very thick oil, but this differential is very smooth. So we have the center one. Perfect. All right. Let's see. How does this one look? This one here could use a little more oil. All right. Once that sets, that should be enough. Here we go. All right. So at this point, I can take the rear and I'll assemble the rear. Now these, it does not matter which one you use, but here we go. I need to line up the holes. That's something I have to do. Let's see. Line up here. And these are just paper. They're just paper gaskets. But here we go. So we're going to do the same thing. Line up the holes. And then it's just the 4 screws. And again, make sure that you keep track of which one the front one is, which one the rear one is. Dun, dun, dun. All right, let's put the other screw. If you have power tools, you can use power tools. Just drive them in slowly because you're threading the plastic as you're driving the screw in. So if you thread it in too fast, you can overheat the plastic, you can ruin the threads, you can damage the plastic, and then once you damage it, you need to replace it, or else that screw's not going to hold. I mean, you can try using a little bit of super glue. Sometimes it helps, but on a differential, given the speed and the pressure, I would not recommend that. Which is why, I mean, I've mentioned this several times, I like to do this by hand. Well, I prefer. I should have taken my ring off. Don't tell my wife I'm taking my ring off. Maybe someday she'll leave a comment and then I'll really know she's paying attention. I'm kidding. Don't tell her. All right. Let's finish with this one. And do not over tighten. That's something very, very important. These should just be snug. If you over tighten, you are going to seize the gears. So this should feel smooth and free. Sometimes if you over tighten, the gears will start to bind inside. So I'm going to place this on the left. It's off camera, you can't see it. And then I'm going to place the front one on the right. Now, why am I choosing rear front? Well, think of a coordinate plane or line, right? That's the only reason why. It's just easier for me to remember that way. All right, and we need the gasket. You could set it here, but I find it easier to place it here, mainly because of the groove. Let's see. All right, there we go. And something too, whenever you're building a kit, take your time, do it right, for a variety of reasons. One, it's your kit. And two, you want it to last long. Now, if we go back to one and you say, well, what if it's not my kit? What if I'm building it for somebody else? Well, just build it correctly as if it were yours. That's the reason why. Now, if you say, well, I don't really care about my stuff, then you shouldn't be buying a kit like this then. Buy something disposable. Because it takes a lot of time, so you have to value your time. Not to mention, these things are not inexpensive, so value your work. All right, let's see. Shouldn't be too long. It's the front differential, it's the last differential. Here we go. So for those of you wondering what I'm doing is I'm spinning the driver this way with this hand and I'm spinning the screw this way. So it just gives me a little more of a turn. Good. So here is the front differential. Now, really quick, if you were to accidentally mix them up, just spin them. The oil, the difference is large enough to where you can spin them and you will feel the greater resistance on the front one. This is the front one. Let's just go ahead and spin the differential. All right, so here we go. We're going to go ahead and open bag C now. So we are here. We will actually assemble a gearbox now. So it'll be the front gearbox. Well, actually, should I do it on the next one? This video is pretty long. Yeah, maybe I can do the gearboxes together. I'm going to go ahead and do the gearboxes on the next video. For now, I'm just going to lay them on here. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, and here are the 3 differentials with rear, middle, and front. I'll catch you on the next video.